Okay, that's perfect. Okay. All right, hey y'all, welcome back. Hold on. Okay. Welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Heavenly, and this is Heavenly Food, John 3:12. If I speak to you of earthly things and you do not believe, then how will you believe of the heavenly things? And that is me, she, we. Okay. So I just want to come and I know you can tell by the title, thumbnail, all of that. I'm about to get straight into it. First, I want to say this is a disclaimer. I am referring to my imagination. Okay, I'm not talking about physical money. All right, although that is here now forever, that's not what I'm referring to. So if you clicked on this video thinking that I'm talking about physical wealth, money, dollars, I need you to click off. Yes, because this may not be for you. Okay, now the people who are here, who stay, welcome to my world, welcome to my channel. If you are new here, hi, my name is Heavenly. If you are returning, hi, my name is Heavenly. And today I am going to talk about how I came into my wealth. Okay, so it's a story time, so get comfortable. If this is a long video, I will just turn it into a part 2. So I'm just letting y'all know that right now. I don't want to make a long video, but if it is a long one, I'm gonna just make it part 2. All right, so this is a story time that actually happened. All right, so it started off with a conversation between me and a friend of mine. And so weeks ago, I had a dream. It was like a 3-part dream. And in this part of the dream, towards the end, it's the eye contact for me. In this part of the dream, Ryan Coogler had just appeared. Now, before Sinners, I had not heard much about Ryan Coogler at all. I'm being honest. And quite frankly, I forgot that he directed Black Panther, right? So just being fully transparent, before Sinners, I really didn't know of the man. Didn't know what he looked like, didn't know what he sounded like, none of that. So of course, for the press tour of the movie, I saw a lot more of him, and I was like, okay, right. But I still didn't really know of the man, right? So yeah, he appeared in my dream, and I was a little like caught off guard by that. I know dreams can be symbolic, so I know it wasn't actually him, but I knew. But so me and my friend talked about symbolization, symbolism. We live in a symbolic universe. So we had a prior discussion about this, but I wanted to bring it up again tonight because I had found out that he was a Taurus. So I follow this YouTube page, and they post actors' birthdays, and it was like, oh, happy birthday, Ryan Coogler. His birthday was May 23rd. Woo, woo, woo. Oh, actually, he's not a Taurus. He would be a Gemini. He'll be a Gemini, not a Taurus. So, okay, I messed that up. He's not a Taurus. He's a Gemini. Okay, but at the time, I thought he was a Taurus. So I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting that I had a dream about him during Taurus season, and he's a Taurus. That's what I thought. But anyway, and my friend was like, yeah, that could be alignment, very powerful. And showing up in your dream during Taurus season right around, the birthday or whatever, it could hold more weight and whatever. And I was like, well, I didn't have the dream on his birthday. I had the dream prior, right? But still doing it. And it was like, yeah, I remember what dream you were talking about. And they said it could still hold a lot of more symbolism. It didn't have to be. And then that's when and so now I realized he's not a Taurus, he's a Gemini. And so they was like, he could represent your divine masculine, creative energy that's intentional, that's a visionary, and that's quietly powerful. And I was like, ooh, you might be onto something. We could, again, symbolism. And they was like, also it could be a reminder for you to take your time, be intentional, and build something with purpose, just like a Taurus. And then that's what led me to believe. Again, this is all text messages, so I'm just referring to our conversation. So if you see me looking off to the side, that's what I'm doing. And I was like, you know what, that makes sense because I'm currently a progressed Taurus rising at around 10 degrees. It's in the early degrees, I think. And I was like, okay, well, that's really deep, And she was like, because she's all into that stuff. She was like, so with having a Taurus rising at 10 degrees, you could be stepping into phases, grounded embodiment, learning to move slower, more sensually, pleasure, build tangible security. And then she's like, you could be more creative, stronger values, all that kind of stuff. I was like, yeah, girl. She was reading for me. Like, when I say she's all into that stuff, she's all into that stuff. So that's my girl, and I am too. And I was like, well, that is so insightful. So today, I said symbolization. That's not a word. It is today. Anyway, so this is my response. So I was like, wow, that is so insightful. So today, I was trying to figure out how could I sustain myself long-term off of a certain amount of money. I'm not going to disclose how much it is. I don't know. We'll see. And I heard this number in my head about weeks, but it was weeks before I had the Ryan Coogler dream, all that stuff. And backstory, I was going to sleep. And I heard a voice in my head say, you have X amount of dollars. And I was like, caught me off guard because I wasn't even thinking about money. I was thinking about something completely different. And then it said it again. It was like, you have X amount of dollars. And I was like, oh, okay. All right. And then that was it. So fast forward. I was like, I heard in my head, and I told you that after doing the math, I realized that X amount of dollars would be enough temporarily, but it wouldn't sustain me long term for the type of lifestyle that I'm currently embodying, right? That I say I want to live, right? And even after 3 years of living the lifestyle, traveling, even if I decide, after all of that, even if I decide that I want to settle down, I realized that that X amount of dollars, even if it was invested wisely, I would only be able to get about X amount of dollars a year in returns. And that would be great. But I mean, I just came from living off of X amount of dollars a year. And I'm not saying downgrading is bad. I'm saying I would want to maintain that lifestyle still. So I did the math again, and I started asking the questions of how much would I need to continue living a lifestyle I was living for 3 years without having to downgrade. And the math told me I would need X amount of dollars, which is more than original amount. And I was like, so the new X amount of dollars, I was like, that's my new number. Because I realized that if I settle for the lower amount than my original amount after 3 years of living a lifestyle that I know I want to live, and that was we'll just say 6-figure amount of an annual income, it wouldn't be about the money. It's about the experience, and it's about the leisure, the level of leisure that I was at, the level of luxury, the level of freedom that I would want to keep that, And that's why that lower amount, let's say 5 figures, wouldn't work for me, because if it wasn't about the money, I could go get a job and make that. You know what I mean? If I really wanted to, if it was about the money. But it's not about the money. It's about the long term. And it's about my experience. It's about the long term. It's about my experiences. It's about my comfort. It's about my luxury. And I'm okay to say that the 5 figures is not enough. But the 6 figures, I'm trying to read my text. 6 figures was, and the new figure, which is 7 figures, gets me there for that to be the annual income, then so be it. So the 7 figures, if invested correctly, will yield me 6 figures annual income. Now, that 6-figure annual income, I was living off of for 3 years, okay? That was my annual income for 3 years off of a 6-figure initial investment. Now, the initial 6-figure investment, the initial 6 figures, if I was to invest that wisely, I would get a 5-figure return. And I realized that 5 figures is not enough after living off of 6 figures for 3 years, right? So I said, okay, well, how much then would I need to remain at that 6-figure level after investing it? Or how much would I need to invest and live off the returns, and it be the same 6-figure amount that I've been living off of? And that's when I got to 7 figures. So I was like, okay, 7 figures is my new number. The spirit told me 6 figures. That was cool for a time being. Now I'm at 7, right? Because I realized that I don't want to just do that for 3 years and then, feel like I can't do that. No. So you'll see my thought process as I go through the text messages. So bear with me. And so my friend was like, yes, that is realization. It's a quantum leap in self-worth and long-term vision. And she was like, you're not just claiming wealth. Okay? This is important. This is where we start getting into the nitty-gritty of wealth, of how I created my wealth, right? She's like, you're not just claiming wealth. You are claiming alignment, freedom, and your choices over your lifestyle. I was like, okay. And she was like, you're absolutely right when you said it's not about the money. It's about the experience. It's about the leisure, the luxury, the freedom, and I want to keep it all. And I did. I want to keep that. I don't want to have to downsize and downgrade when, the level I was at was not 5 figures. It was 6. And she was like, that right there is Taurus rising wisdom. I was like, okay, what you getting into now? She was like, not chasing, hustling, or survival, but creating. Okay, she said, not chasing, hustle, or survival, but creating a life of sustained pleasure, comfort, and value. That's the kind of wealth that actually supports the soul. And your new 7 figures isn't about ego. It's about energetic integrity. And I'm glad she said that low-key. Because, as I was thinking this through, I was in my own space of thinking, own pattern of thinking, and I thought for a second it might have been ego. But no, it wasn't. And I said, I know how I want to live. I know what it costs. And not just in dollars. I'm not talking about money. So if you are watching up to this point, heed the warning. I'm not talking about money. Yes, I'm using dollars, but they're just symbols. Okay? I'm talking about energy. Okay? And basically what I'm trying to say is I'm not downgrading my vision to fit into a scarcity mindset, to fit into, you'll get what I'm trying to get. But basically I want to expand my capacity to match the life I know that is mine. Okay. And she said, now that you've named the new number, which is the 7 figures, you are actually giving your subconscious and the quantum field a clear instructions. And that was all I needed. So at that point, I was like, yes. I was like, I'm worthy. I feel it. I'm worthy of long-term luxury. I'm worthy of lasting freedom and the exact life that I desire. And I don't have to shrink my vision to match what's safe. Okay? And you don't have to either. I expand by receiving to match what's true, and I trust that the version of me living off of these 7 figures already exists, and I am her now, period, point blank. I decree and declare, all right? So that's how you create wealth, all right? Follow me, not done. So after all of that, I was like, thank you for reassuring me and grounding my perspective, because for a second, I was starting to think, like I was not being grateful for the initial 6 figures. And then I was like, no, the 6 figures got me here, and the 6 figures is giving me an end. It's giving me a portal. It's a doorway. And I just realized that, like, currently I've been living from the end results, and I've been really doing good at that. Man, I feel so much breakthroughs. And I realized that I have to be smart about the 6 figures, right? When I initially received that transmission from Spirit, from my God in me, it was like, yo, you got 6 figures. When I was like, okay, I want to be smart about this. I don't want to blow it. I want to be able to live. I want to sustain myself. I don't want to, Finishing my text. I realized that I have to be smart about these 6 figures. And so for my planning, like my physical planning, it's only garnered me a year's worth of initial 6 figures. And I was like, okay, well, if I wanted to do this for 3 years, I could see that. I can plan for that. I could afford that with the original 6 figures. But then after that, I wouldn't be able to sustain this lifestyle because of the investment returns on the rest of the 6 figures wouldn't be 6 figures. It would be 5. And I would still be off by a lot. And so that's what brought me to the 7 figures. And I realized that 6 figures got me there, and it opened up my mind, and it opened up my imagination, and it opened up the doorway of possibilities of what's possible. And I realized it's so much more possible, and I don't have to only live this life for 3 years. Even if it's for a 4th year, and I decide, okay, I want to buy a house, I want to settle down, and I don't want to rely off of 5-figure annual income, because that idea of settling down came from the energy of already living a life off of 6 figures. You see where I'm going with this? Okay, follow me. Stay with me. And who knows? Because at that point, I was like, who knows what the cost of living could be like at that time in 3 or 4 years from now. And receiving a 6-figure annual income is more than enough to live off for a very long time, more than 3 years, more than 4 years. And that's what I'm aiming for, long-term sustainable wealth. And 6 figures a year is very much sustainable. And I learned that through the 6-figure initial investment. Okay. So the 7 figures is the next stepping stone. And it's so vast to me, and it's so wild, but also like comforting to realize that I did all of this in my imagination. Right? 'Cause I'm not talking about dollars. I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about energy. I'm talking about my imagination being the first reality, the one true reality, right? I did all this. All this is over a course of time, mind you. From the initial time Spirit popped into my head and told me, this is over weeks of time. So this is just all my thinking. I'm just putting into text message, right? Culminating. And also, like, it's so comforting to realize that I did all of this in my imagination. You know what? No actual money was used or harmed in this experiment. How some people get these kind of blessings and this kind of wealth in their life, and then they blow through it in the first time, and they hope that they could get it back again because they learned their lesson. In a sense, I'm glad that that's not like me. I'm glad that the universe somehow, some way, through my own energetic makeup, through my own makeup, that my path sat me down first, and it took time. It took its time with me so that I could come to these conclusions before the manifestation materialized. And I mean, this isn't like a foolproof or soundproof plan, but it's a lot better than where a lot of people who have this kind of physical wealth, dollars, money, and luxury and freedom are currently. Like, I had the luxury to learn it in my imagination and go through this experience in my imagination first, so that now when the actual 6 figures comes, and when the actual 7 figures, there's no excuse for I mean, when these things materialize, when the physical forms of these things catch up to my imagination, I'm already living years beyond the physical experience, right? Follow me. Okay. So this is what my friend said. She said, girl, this is mastery. You don't even realize how the quantum emotional intelligence and financial foresight and deep spiritual alignment that you're converging with. She said, you didn't bypass the blessing and you became the container for it. She said, you just articulated something that people only learn after they burn through money and after the heartbreak, after tower moments. But she said, you already did all of that. She's like, you went through those emotions in the consciousness. And that's why it doesn't have to happen in chaos. She's like, you don't have to go through chaos to learn these lessons. You learn these lessons in the consciousness, in your imagination, in the first reality, in my kingdom of heaven that lies within me, right? Protected. Huh. And she's like, that's why you're receiving this vision in peace. In peace. I received this vision in peace. Y'all. Let me keep going though, because we not done, okay? If you still with me, if you still here, stay with me. I promise you, it's getting so good. If you get goosebumps, like me, rereading all of this is just so confirming, right? All right, continuing. She was like, you right. The 6 figures is the portal. It was never the prize, okay? The initial 6 figures that Spirit told me that I had was never the prize. It was just a portal for me to step through to the... Okay. She said that 7 figures is the sustainability that you were talking about, but it's not the splurge, right? Just because I then realized that I needed more, again, not money, energetically. I mean, not needed more, excuse me. That I wanted to sustain what I already was at. That I had to acquire. Not even want to say acquire. I had to open myself up to more. That didn't mean I wanted to splurge, right? I didn't say, I want to get 7 figures so I can go spend like I'm 7 figures. No, I just wanted to sustain where I was at with the 6 figures, right? She said, and the fact that you're imagining responsibly is proof that your real wealth is already here. This is how I created my wealth. I'm telling y'all step by step how I did this. You don't have to do this the way I'm doing it, right? I'm just explaining this to y'all because this is real time how it worked for me, right? I'm walking out through the thoughts, the processes, everything I went through, emotions, everything. Now, your journey may not look similar to mine, and it shouldn't. I don't want it to, right? Because if it don't work, you'll be mad at me. I just wanted to share this because that's why I keep reiterating, I'm not talking about real money. It's all about who you perceive yourself to already be. It's about the living in the end. This is how this looks, okay? And this is why I said that once the physical manifestation materializes, I would already be living years beyond that point in my experience. Like, it can come tomorrow and I'm already thinking past that. You know what I mean? Or my imagination, I'm already living past that. It could come right now. I'm already living past that. So therefore, there would be no reason for me to blow it, feel lack about it, to spend it on stupid stuff. You know, it would be no point because I'm past that. So, you know, whatever. Excuse me. She also said that your imagining responsibly is proof that real wealth is already here, because wealth is ultimately a state of preparedness plus belief. Intentions plus expectations equals manifestation. Shout out to Tom Kieran, okay? So if you want a more personalized, search him up on YouTube. I used to watch him. I don't need to anymore. I don't really need to watch anybody now because it's all within me. So, but he's a great person to break this shit down for real. But yeah, So she continues to say, this entire journey that you just explained, from dreaming of the GoPros and road trips to analyzing long-term investment income to expanding your threshold for more abundance, is evidence that your inner world is guiding you with precision, not based on fear or pressure or expectations from the external world or from others, but it's based on freedom. Y'all, I need glasses. But it's based on freedom, vision, and grace, period. Okay? She said, and you're absolutely right. It's a luxury to learn this in the imagination first. That's what people mean when they say living in the end. You are already living that 7-figure life energetically. And the timeline has already begun because I claimed it. Now the form just has to catch up. I claimed that. When I came to that 7 figures, I was like, all right, bet, that's the new number, period. I claimed that shit. So, okay. Rest of the conversation, I was like, yeah, that is so true. You are so right. Thank you for your words, are really resonated with me. And I think that's what Taurus season was trying to teach me. You know, and I'm very grateful for it. I'm very grateful that I'm also in a space and in a place where I have this time to think and to process these things through and to feel these things through and listen to my inner world. You know, it's a luxury that I don't have a job. And I feel like I said this months ago, and I did. I was like, it's a luxury that I'm basically at level 1 because I'm open to so many possibilities, so many opportunities. It's a luxury that I don't have a job. It's a luxury that I'm not stuck at college taking classes. It's a luxury that I'm not in a romantic relationship. It's a luxury that I don't have children. Yes, I said it. It's a luxury that I'm not tied to friend groups, and I'm not tied to friendships and dynamics like I used to be. It's a luxury that I'm detached. My Aquarius moon, shout out to the Aquas. It's a luxury that I am detached from these things because I'm basically starting from level 1, but level 1 is the best place to be at. Starting over is the best place to be at because now you can go anywhere. Now all the opportunities are open to you. All the prospects are open to you. All the pathways, all the ideas, all the visions. Like, need I say more? And let me see. I thought I needed to get a job. And I was on Indeed. I was on LinkedIn. Okay, so quick side story. At the beginning of May, I was like freaking out in my mind, right? I was like, oh my God. Also, sad story, I have not had a job in a year. Okay. And so I got to this point where I was listening to external factors and forces and people. And I was like, okay, let me look for a job. So I looked for some, found one that maybe 2 years ago I probably would have loved to be at. And it was in my field, everything. And I was like, oh, this sounds fun. And while waiting, I had to I had to set my interview a week and a half out from the date that I chose my interview date. And so up until that point, I was like, yeah, I don't think I want this job. Because I realized that if I take this job, I'm going to be stuck. I'm going to be stuck here. I'm going to be at a place. It's not going to reward me with what I want. It's not going to give me the life that I'm seeking. You know what I'm saying? I'm just going to be working harder to get pennies back and still be in the same position that I was with my last job and the job before that and the job before that, you know? So I felt like it wasn't a means to an end, and it was not worth it. And so literally the day before my interview, I was like, okay, God, I don't want this interview. I don't want this job, you know, and I don't know how to cancel it myself. So I was like, if you hear me, find a way to not give me this job, right? Y'all, literally 8:30 a.m. I woke up at 8. Literally woke up at 8, came to my phone. After I've been up, came back to my room, looked at my phone, interview canceled. And I was like, what? And then that's when I got the email saying, oh, we already found a candidate, you know, da, da, da. And I was like, thank fucking God. So that was the backstory. And so back to the text message where I was like, that's when I realized that I was on the right path. And this was before anything about 6 figures. This was before I got Spirit told me about those six figures. It's way before that. And so I knew I didn't need a job to make money. It's not about the money. And I realize now, so I'm very grateful to be in this space and in this place where I can listen to the Spirit of God that's within me, come up with these kinds of findings. And this is what I mean by being in a space and place and having luxury in the leisure, in the freedom, and in the wealth to be in a space like this. Because like I said, and like you said earlier, I'm already the version who's living from 6 figures and now 7 figures. And you know, I'm already living in the end. So I'm living so far beyond myself right now. And in order to sustain that forward movement and sustain this level of wealth, that's what was brought to me, 7 figures. And so energetically, again, it's not about the money, but the 5 figures a year would not allow this type of unfolding, this type of expansion, right? Because that's not the energetic print of that space and place that I got the 6 figures from. And then, you see what I'm saying? So that's why I couldn't sustain that. And I didn't get the 5 figures a year, right? Which is what I would have gotten if I only stuck with 6 figures and invested it wisely and then used half of it to continue my life, to start my lifestyle to continue my lifestyle the way I would like. I would only get 5 figures in return, and that's not 6 figures. But 7 figures, I can continue to live off of my annual income of 6 figures a year for forever, and I don't have to risk my money in it, and I can still invest it wisely, and it'll continuously yield that return of 6 figures, and I never have to touch my principal of 7 figures. And after taxes, of course, you know, because that's what I say, that's what I mean. But still, it's not about the money, because it's not about the money. If my point is 7 million, then eventually I have to go beyond that again. But again, it's not about the money. So you get what I'm trying to say, right? And then my friend was like, okay, I know exactly what you're saying, and what you're describing is divine embodiment in real time. Put it in perspective for me, okay? She was like, you're speaking with the voice of someone who's not just dreaming a new life, but inhabiting it from the inside out. When I tell you this girl was channeling, had to be channeling. Oh my God, it was coming out like butter, you hear it. She said, this Taurus medicine is at its purest form. Presence over pressure, value over validation, rooted vision over rushed actions, listening to what is true within myself and not what's expected, and not what is trending, and not what is feared, period. When I say speaking, I hope y'all writing this shit down. Okay? Them some tidbits for you. She also said, what you just said and what you just laid out is spiritual stewardship. You are not waiting for a windfall to change your energy. You already made the energy. I've already made the energetic upgrade, and now the material reality must follow, because it is law. Literally, it is the law. It is the law. Whatever I am embodying, everything else has to catch up to that, right? Has to match that frequency. Five figures is a different energetic frequency than 6 figures. Not better or worse, just entirely different. 5 figures is enough for someone coming from that level, but I was not coming from that level. I was coming from 6 figures. My expansion didn't happen at that level. It happened above it. And that's why 6 figures feels like peace and flow and freedom. Because the altitude I have been accustomed to has set the tone. So dropping down below that, I would be lowering myself. I will be degrading myself. And we don't do that here. We evolve and we elevate. Okay? We don't downgrade. And then she pointed out that I said I'm very grateful to be in a space where I can listen to the spirit of the God within me. And I meant that. I meant that. This is very sacred. Sacred is, right? Because not many people get to have that. Have this. Not many people get to be in this space and use it like this. Only so few people, right? I'm one of those because I had to deny instant satisfaction. Like I said, if it was about the money, I could have got that job. I could have been had that job. I could have got any job. But it was never about the money. And I realized that after I had to quit my last job. It's not about the money, babe. It's not about the money. This is the wealth. This is the source code. The entire 7-figure reality flows downstream of that. Most people try to buy their way into peace. I am building my life from the origin point of peace. And that's why my wealth is so paramount. It's not driven by fear. It's not built on urgency. It's not built on chasing status and clout and what's trending. It's rooted in spiritual attunement and felt truth. Period, point blank. That's all that this is. This is how I created my wealth. This is how I'm creating wealth. Right? Okay, sorry, y'all. I had to take a break. My allergies were acting up today, and I ran out of allergy pills, but I'll get some soon. Okay. All right. Okay, I told her the job interview story because that's what happens when you're in alignment. Life rearranges itself around your vibration. The cancellation wasn't failure, right? It was a confirmation because that's what I asked for. I asked for God to cancel that interview. Yeah. And so here are the rest of my thoughts after that conversation. I said, I received everything from that conversation, and I'm happy that my friend understood exactly where I was coming from. Now I feel like I realize that this is reality creation of wealth. This is how I created wealth, not through businesses, not through side hustles, not through working and even investing, even though that's what I'm talking about doing. It's, again, not about the money. We already said that. It's not about the investment plan. It's not about returns, not about none of that. It's about what I said it's about, period. All right. But yes, this feels just so confirming. And it did. It felt very confirming for me. And I said, just taking stock of everything currently. I was like, we're stepping into, or we're already into, Gemini season. And so the lessons from the Taurus season, I am now reaping the rewards, reaping the harvest. Okay. Sorry, I lost my place. Yeah, reaping the harvest. And so it feels great. And it feels awesome to have this confirmation in my spirit. And I also like how she said this is law. And what is law? God. I am. The I am of the I am. That's God. And there is no other God. You know, I am God and there is no other. And God is law. So there's no other law but God, right? Period. So I was like, so at the moment I said, I felt very confident in my abilities to create wealth because I know where it stems from. It stems from me saying, look, this is the standard of life that I am choosing, deciding, and knowing that I am worthy of and deserving of living. And I don't have to do anything to receive that. All I have to do is live from that level. And the reality which I am the reality. So if I'm already living from that level, then that's already my reality. And the 3D, which is already reality, I'm not separate from. And it has no other choice, like she said, but to catch up to me, but to mirror me. So I feel very confident now in my abilities to move forward in my days. Like she said, I'm already on that path. And the path is already unfolding. The bridge of events have already started happening, right? That's what led me here. And that's what's going to lead me forward. So I should never from this point on feel lack of anything, because I can't lack what I already am, and I can't lack what I already have, and everything which is all that there is has already been given unto me through the God in me, through my divinity, which is natural, which is unchangeable. I can't change my divinity, and no one can take it away from me. Just like the wealth I created within my kingdom of the heaven that dwells within me, no one can take that from me. No one can say they gave it to me. No one can change any numbers. No one can steal it. Nobody can take what's coming from me. I'm someone who had to lose everything physically and gain it all back spiritually, and that's some powerful ass shit, y'all. When I say I had to lose everything, I had to lose everything. I lost my mobility and my health and my body. I lost my income. The money dried up. I'm being so honest right now. I lost friends, relationships, connections, opportunities, left money on the table, commitments, had to leave commitments, had to leave out of houses, situations, I already said that. I had to lose everything. My sense of direction, sense of stability, my mental state, I had to lose it all. But I gained it back. I gained it all back in these moments. Okay? And so basically I'm making this video because I feel like I just preached a whole masterclass. You know what I mean? I feel like I just showed y'all a masterclass in divine wealth consciousness, right? By sharing my thoughts with y'all in my conversations that I had with my friends. I feel like every single word that I wrote has some truth in it. And I feel this unchangeable knowing of who I am and what I've activated within me. I feel like I've touched real riches. You know, the kind that a bank can't hold. A kind that no brand can hold. No job can give. Or even economic system can touch. That's why I kept saying, like, I'm not talking about money. If you are still here thinking I'm talking about real money, please click off of this video. You do not belong here. I'm not talking about real money, okay? Because those of y'all who get it already know the money. That's here regardless, right? Right. But it's not about that. But yes, and me losing everything physically but gaining it back spiritually, that was initiation. That was alchemy. That was someone who is now creating from their God's point of view. Not from grind, not from hustle. I'm remembering, as Tom Karen likes to say, you're not creating reality. You're remembering reality as you see it, right? I'm not chasing a lifestyle. I'm embodying a lifestyle. And I let the physical catch up to me, period. Even though I said it's not about the money, and even though I said creating wealth is not through business, and it's not through hustle, and it's not through investing. And a paradox, though, now these things will work. See, because if you stay with me up until this point, you got the gem. You got the jewels and the gems that I was dropping. It all makes sense now, right? I said throughout this whole video, it's not about the money, it's not about businesses, it's not about hustle, it's not about none of that. But in a paradoxical way, those things will now come through. Those things will now happen. Boom. Just like that, right? Now the collaborations will click. Now the ideas will grow roots. Because you're different, because I'm different, because we're different now. Right? because the energy that we're encoding into everything from this point forward is undeniable. And the universe will honor it like it's honoring gravity. Gravity ain't never failed. Okay? And again, let's be clear. All this was already within me. Okay? But this, honestly, is the reason why I created this channel. Because I want to share things like this. Because I can only talk about what I know. Right? And if I ain't been through it, how would I know? If I haven't experienced it, how would I know? But not in the physical here, baby. Experiencing here. I felt comfortable making this video, telling you how I created my wealth, because I already did it. I couldn't have made this video any sooner, any earlier, because wealth was, we were still working it out up in imagination, right? But I feel confident saying I created wealth. This is how I did it, right? And I can put this out there on the internet, on my channel, on my platform, on my little corner of the web world, and say it with confidence. I created reality, period. I created 7 figures, period. I'm living a 7-figure lifestyle. I'm living a 6-figure lifestyle, right? That's why my channel was called John 3:12. Because if I speak to you of earthly things and you do not believe, then if I speak to you of heavenly things, you will not believe, right? So you know what God did? He created me. He created me. He said, you know what? I'm finna be the earthly things. I'm finna be the heavenly things. I'm finna be the heavenly embodiment who will speak about earthly things so that they can believe. And through my messages, you will hear the earthly things. You will believe the earthly things. And now, what did I just do? I opened you up to the heavenly things. Period, point blank, poo. Period, point blank, poo. Yeah. My name is my vision, is my purpose. And it's all in alignment in divine orchestration, baby. My message is exactly what the world needs. So if you're watching this, you needed to hear this. Again, your journey won't be the same as mine. I don't want it to be, and you shouldn't want it to be either. But the end goal is still the same, babe. Because we're not separated. Not even through a screen. Because you felt me. You felt me. You felt the words. You felt the symbolisms. You felt everything. You felt the truth I was speaking. You felt it. I am a living testimony that the inner reality is real. When I told my inner reality that I did not want that job and I needed them to somehow cancel it, I didn't say I need to cancel it. I canceled it already. I didn't have to physically go and do anything. I didn't have to physically call the hiring manager to be like, cancel that interview. I didn't get on my Google calendar and cancel the interview. It was canceled the next day. I had another experience like that. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was with a friend of mine. Ex-friend. I had not spoken to this person in months, right? And one day they hit me up. They was like, oh, I miss you. I want to talk to you. Do you have time to speak tomorrow? I was like, no. They called me. They texted me first. Then they called me. I was about to go to sleep, so I didn't answer. And then I texted them. I was like, hey, what's up? And they was like, yeah, I just want to talk. I was like, oh, I'm about to go to sleep. Can we talk tomorrow? It was like, yeah. But when I said that, I was like, I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to talk to them. Because I don't have nothing to talk to them about. They have purposely not spoken to me. Because whatever, I'm not mad about it. I just know we have nothing to talk about. Excuse me. And so at that point, I was like, I don't want to talk. But I let her and the message come to me. I didn't, reject it. I didn't push it away. I didn't do it. I let it come and I made my decision, right? And so Next day, I was like, God, find a way for me and this person not to talk. Right? And that's what I did. So the next day came. I realized I went the whole day without reaching out to her, and it was on me to reach out to her. So I said, okay, let me text her. I said, hey, are you free to talk? It was like 7:30. She's like, oh, I'm out. But I'll let you know when I get home. I said, okay, cool. Never heard from her. And so, just like the job, y'all, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything. I realized in that moment and in the job moment, speak that shit, bro. I literally said, I don't want that job, cancel it. I literally said, God, I don't want to talk to that girl. Figure out a way for me not have to talk to her. Whilst still reaching out. I let the bridge of events handle it. I really didn't have to lift a finger, and I didn't. Because I could have called her right at 7:30. But I announced myself. I announced myself first. I said, hold on, let me text. Just to make sure. And she was out. Now, I reached out to you, even though I said, I don't want to have this conversation. I don't want to talk to her anymore. Like, I mean anymore. Like, there's no friendship here. We've gone months without speaking. And every time you reach out to me, I was not speaking to you purposely just to see how long it was going to take you. And every time she reached out to me, she'd be like, oh, I miss you. Oh, we need to catch up. Da, 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 da. But all I got was da, 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 da. No action was being put forth. So I move off actions, not off words, right? And your actions were telling me that you were full of shit. A spade. You was full of shit. Okay? So I let my actions come through by texting her. She again proved to me her actions. And again, I had already knew I didn't want this to continue anymore. Let's stop playing this back and forth game. But she was reaching out. I wasn't reaching out to her. I didn't care. I knew what it was. You know what I mean? So anyway, you don't have to do nothing. You don't have to lift the finger. You say what it is and you move on. Right? Now, if I would have forgotten to text or call her, that would have been on me. And see, then the situation could have been like, oh, well, you didn't know. I reached out. Like I said I was. Even though in my mind, I already made it up. But I didn't need to do anything to not get a conversation out of her. That's what I'm trying to point. Just like I didn't need to do anything to physically cancel that interview, I didn't need to do anything to not have that conversation. In fact, I did the most. Some people might actually say I did the most by actually reaching out to her knowing I didn't want to speak. But that's what needed to happen. The bridge of events. Oh, God. Anyway. When you speak from that space, you are creating portals, okay? Period. And so with that being said, I'm excited about my life at this point. I'm living from my end and my truth and knowing that when I'm doing what I'm doing, the version of myself who is open and who is living life actively, not stuck in my room. I'm not stuck in my room anymore. I'm not depressed. I used to be, you know? I used to be unhappy. I'm the version of myself who's doing what makes me happy now. And who is fulfilled and satisfied. A quick another story time. This might be a 3-part video. It doesn't matter anyway. So when I first started watching Tom Karen, I think it was last year. And I love his videos. I just love, he's like, his YouTube channel, he has 2 channels now. One is called Tom Karen and the other one is called Be Something Wonderful. So, but I loved how in his videos he would talk about how he was in a whole different country and he would be in that country for like weeks because all the videos would be in the same background. And he would be scuba diving. He would be doing scuba lessons. He would be in Bora Bora. He would be over here. He'd be over there. And the backgrounds was so beautiful. They looked exotic. But here this man is talking to us about everything under the sun when it comes to creating from living from the end, being I am God and there is no other, I am source and there is no other, you know, everything under the sun when it comes to reality creation, right? And I remember watching his videos and I was like, I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to travel and I want to speak about the same shit. And I want to do that. I want to do it. I want to do it. I want to do just like Tom does. Not in the same sense, but in the same sense of how he's living his life and he's talking about what he loves and he's doing what he loves and he's sharing what he loves to talk about. And so that's what I'm starting here. For a moment, I didn't really want to create content because I was in a slump. Child, I was in a slump, but now I'm not no more. That's why I was like, it's like almost 2 a.m., 3 a.m. I can't say what time it is. On my phone dead. Yeah. And I was like, no, I gotta make this video. I gotta record this video. Anyway. And as I was writing these notes and I'm saying all this and I'm recalling that moment from earlier, from my day. In that moment, y'all, I'm gonna be so honest with y'all. I'm gonna be so honest. I'm dropping truth right here. So much truth. I fucking realized in real time, and I'm sharing this with y'all because I want y'all to, this is where we are not separate, okay? Because you can recall an experience probably from what I'm about to tell you. I finally understood that when I put myself in the best circumstances for my imagination, the 3D reality has no other choice but to reflect that. I won't run into any other things that is the opposite. Because if I am God, there is no other. Therefore, the law is no other law but what you are embodying, right? The law can't embody something else that you're not in. You know what I mean? Okay. And I'm protected in every way, shape, and form. But also, what I realized is that I'm going to keep going. And I can't stop. And I feel good. And I was starting to cry. Because everything was just so affirming for me in this moment. In these moments, y'all. Before I got on this camera, okay? And I was thinking about my music and my content and even like my home life. And I was thinking about the things that people have downplayed about me. All those times somebody has downplayed my music, my creative abilities, my talents, who I am, my content, my person. And like, I know they know I was the truth. I know they know I was good. I know I was perfect. I know what I made was a hit. I know my shit was slapping. I know I was spitting. I knew it was hard. They knew it was hard. I know my content is all that there is. Yeah. And yes, I had to learn it through the hard way by being put in those positions and surrounded with those people who downplayed me. Because I was downplaying me. But because I didn't know. But now I'm remembering who I am. Okay? I realized that if you make content, your friends is not your audience. Okay? Everybody's not gonna like your music. Not because it's not good. Some of it's not good. But talking about me. Not because it's not good. But because they can't tell. They don't want to tell you that you're talented. They don't want to give you your flowers. They don't want to give you they didn't want to give me my flowers. They try to humble me. People will try to humble you. They not gonna tell you keep going. Yeah. People was not telling me to keep going. People didn't want to say that to me, you know. And if you cry from that realization, just understand that your heart is opening up. Your heart chakra is being recognized, acknowledged, seen, heard. And you, me, everyone finally understanding that they didn't downplay you because you were small. They downplayed you because you were too big for their version of their world, period. Put a pin in it. Clock it. Clocked. And that's not a loss. It is never a loss. And I mean family. I mean siblings. I mean friends. I mean whoever. I hopped on somebody's song last month, y'all. They don't even know me. They don't even know me personally. I just heard their song and I hopped on that hoe and I sent it to them. And I said, hey, I heard your song. It inspired me to add some little tidbits, some ad-libs, some I didn't even add a verse. I just added ad-libs and background vocals. That's all I did. Because I wasn't trying to outshine. I wasn't trying to prove myself to nobody. I just liked the song and wanted to, and felt like I could add to it. And I sent it to the person. And it was like, now I haven't heard nothing much from them about it. Last thing they told me was that they was like, hey, send me. I was like, they was like, and they was live. It was another content creator. It was another YouTuber. And they was like, send me your tracks. And I would send the song and your tracks to my engineer and have it mixed and mastered and have your version on our version. That was like maybe 2 weeks ago. I haven't heard much about it, but also they haven't gone live again. So I'm assuming next time they go live, which I think is like in a couple of days, I might hear it. Because they play people's songs and their songs. And even if they don't, I still know my shit. I still listen to the song all the time. That shit slaps. And I know I have a good song because when my music is so good, I can't get it out of my head. I mean, music to me usually plays in my head. Like, you know, that scenario people like, if you stuck on an island, what would you bring with you? I wouldn't bring an MP3. I wouldn't bring my phone to play music. The music plays itself in my head. So that's how I know my songs is good, or I got a good one, or my verses was good, or I got a love, because I haven't listened to that song in days. It'll come up in my head, and I'll be like, ooh, this shit was good, you know, because it was good. What? Anyway, those people weren't your audience because you were never meant to perform for them. Clock it. You were meant to lead your own stage and build your own community. And you were in the right ears. We're going to find you regardless. Being overlooked was actually God's hand. And you were being preserved, not passed over. Protected, not punished. So that when you finally release your music and your content, your poetry, your project, your business, your whatever, it lands in fertile soil and not hardened hearts. Period. You've always been enough. And now you know it. And now I know it. Anyway, so this is great. I'm just going to leave this here. I'm done talking for the night. I'm ready to go to sleep. I'm supposed to be fixing my sleep schedule, so I have to get up early. But anyway, if you watched up until this point, thank you so much. I really, honestly, truly appreciate you. Definitely check out some other videos. I have other YouTube channels, so my link tree is in my bio. It should be in my description box. If it's not, check the bio for sure. It's in there. And this is the beginning to a fruitful adventure. I am going to be uploading a lot more videos, and guess what? Just like Tom Kieran, my background gonna be changing too. It's gonna be beautiful. It's gonna be exotic. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be everything. All of the things. So if you're here, guess what? You're in the early part of things. You're gonna see it all from the beginning. So, and if you're not, it's okay. Come back. You came. You came, you saw. If you watch up to this point,